Elder Tsunami's tentacles shook as she pressed the final activation button on the emergency transmitter. Around her, the underwater city of Coralhain crumbled under another bombardment from the ships above. The beautiful coral towers that had taken centuries to grow were now broken ruins, scattered across the ocean floor. The Kaxi had never known war. For thousands of years, they had lived peacefully in their ocean world, growing coral cities and sharing songs through the deep waters. They had welcomed visitors from other worlds with gifts of pearls and beautiful music. War was something they had only heard about in stories from other planets, but the Vorthak Empire had come anyway. The alien warships floated above Tidalmar's surface like metal storms. Their weapons turned the ocean into boiling steam wherever they struck. Millions of Kaxi had already died. The survivors hid in the deepest trenches, hoping the enemy ships could not reach them there. Elder Tsunami looked at the transmission device one more time. It would send their message across the galaxy, reaching every world that could hear radio signals. Maybe someone would care enough to help them. Maybe someone would be strong enough to fight the Vorthak. "Begin recording," she whispered to her aide, a young Kaxi named Ripple. Ripple's gills fluttered nervously, but he activated the recorder. "Recording now, Elder." Elder Tsunami swam closer to the device. Her voice was tired and full of sadness, but she spoke clearly. "This is Elder Tsunami of the Kaxi people on the world of Tidalmar. Our planet is under attack by the Vorthak Empire. They came without warning and began destroying our cities. We tried to surrender, but they do not want prisoners. They want our water and our death." She paused as another explosion shook the ocean above them. Broken pieces of coral rained down around the transmitter. "We are a peaceful people. We have no weapons of war. We have no military ships. We welcomed the Vorthak with songs and gifts, but they answered with fire and death. Our children hide in the deepest places while their parents die protecting them." Elder Tsunami's voice grew stronger. "To anyone who receives this message, we beg for your help. We do not ask you to die for us, but if you have any way to stop this slaughter, please come. We have art and music and stories to share with the galaxy. We have knowledge of the deep oceans and the creatures that live there. We ask only for the chance to continue existing." She touched a control, and the device began broadcasting mathematical formulas and star charts showing Tidalmar's location. "These are our coordinates. If you cannot help us, please remember that we lived. Please remember that the Kaxi sang in the deep waters and loved beauty and peace. Do not let our songs be forgotten." The transmission ended. Elder Tsunami and Ripple waited in the dark water as the message raced across the galaxy at the speed of light, carrying their desperate plea to worlds they had never seen. Far above them, Admiral Kextar of the Vorthak fleet watched the bombardment of another Kaxi city. The aquatic creatures were weak and useless as fighters, but their planet held more fresh water than any world he had ever seen. The Empire needed that water for their expanding fleet. "Status report," he commanded. His second-in-command, Captain Veltar, checked his displays. 60% of surface installations destroyed. The sea creatures continue to flee to deeper water, but our depth charges are reaching them there too. Resistance is minimal. Admiral Kextar nodded. "Continue the bombardment. The Empire wants this world empty of natives within 10 cycles. The water extraction ships are already on their way." He did not care that the Kaxi were peaceful. The Empire had grown strong by taking what it needed from weaker species. If the aquatic creatures could not defend themselves, that was their own fault. The distress signal from Tidalmar spread through space like ripples in a pond. It reached trading posts and military outposts, exploration ships and research stations. Most who heard it filed it away as another tragedy in a galaxy full of them. Wars happened all the time between species. The strong survived and the weak died. On the trade station at Nexus 7, Communication Officer Zelka heard the message and shook his forearm sadly. The Kaxi made beautiful music, but they had nothing valuable enough to risk fighting the Vorthak Empire. He passed the message to his superiors and went back to work. At the Galactic Council headquarters, Ambassador Telvin of the Rationalist Union read the transcript of the Kaxi plea. He felt genuine sympathy for their situation, but the Council had strict rules about interfering in conflicts between non-member species. The paperwork alone would take years. By then, the Kaxi would be extinct. The message reached the military headquarters of the Stellar Defense League. Admiral Korex read it carefully, then checked his star charts. Tidalmar was too far from any strategic positions to matter. The Vorthak were welcome to it. His ships had more important duties closer to home. On Research Station Omega-12, xenobiologist Dr. Helix saved the message to her files. She had studied recordings of Kaxi songs and found them fascinating. But she was just one scientist with no military resources. All she could do was hope someone with more power would help them. The signal traveled further, reaching the edges of known space where few civilized ships went. In the darkness between stars, automated monitoring stations recorded the message and stored it in their databases. Most of these stations had not been visited by their creators in years, but one station was different. Deep Space Monitoring Station Echo 7 had been placed at the very edge of human territory, where Earth's solar system met the vast emptiness between stars. For 20 years it had recorded signals from the galaxy beyond, learning about the alien civilizations that humanity had only dreamed about. Lieutenant Sarah Chen was alone on Echo 7, monitoring the endless stream of alien communications. It was boring work, but someone had to do it. Earth's government wanted to know everything they could about the galaxy before making official contact with alien species. When the Kaxi distress signal reached her station, Lieutenant Chen sat up straight in her chair. She had been listening to alien messages for 3 years, but this one was different. This was not a trade negotiation or a diplomatic discussion. This was a cry for help from people who were about to die. She played the message again, listening to Elder Tsunami's voice filled with sadness and hope. The translation software worked quickly, turning the alien words into English. The mathematical coordinates were clear enough. Tidalmar was only 47 light-years from Earth. Lieutenant Chen opened a priority communication channel to Earth Command. "This is Echo 7 calling Earth Command. I have an urgent message requiring immediate attention from the highest levels." The response came back quickly. "Echo 7, this is Command. Send your message. Command, I am forwarding an alien distress signal. A peaceful species called the Kaxi is being exterminated by something called the Vorthak Empire. They are asking for help from anyone who can hear them." There was a long pause. Then, "Echo 7, confirm you said exterminated?" "Confirmed, Command. This is genocide in progress. The Kaxi are dying right now while we talk." Another pause. "Echo 7, maintain your position and continue monitoring. This is now a priority alpha situation." Lieutenant Chen leaned back in her chair and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, people were dying while calling for help. She wondered if Earth would answer their call or if humanity would be just another species that chose to look away. She did not know that her message was already racing toward Earth at faster-than-light speed, or that it would reach the desk of Admiral Patricia Hayes within 6 hours. She did not know that Admiral Hayes had been waiting 20 years for a reason to reveal humanity to the galaxy. The Kaxi had cried for help, and the Deathworlders had heard them. The emergency session of the Galactic Council began at dawn on Sanctuary Prime. Representatives from 47 different species gathered in the Great Chamber, their various forms of breathing apparatus creating a quiet symphony of hisses and clicks. The chamber itself was a marvel of engineering, designed to accommodate beings who needed different atmospheric pressures and temperatures. Ambassador Telvin of the Rationalist Union called the session to order. His people were known throughout the galaxy for their logical approach to problems, which made them excellent mediators. "We gather today to discuss the situation on Tidalmar. The Kaxi distress signal has been confirmed by multiple sources. The Vorthak Empire is conducting what appears to be a complete extermination of their species." A ripple of various sounds moved through the chamber. Some species clicked their mandibles in distress. Others hummed in low tones that indicated sadness. But many remained silent. Ambassador Kretal of the warrior clan spoke first. Her species was one of the few that might have the military strength to challenge the Vorthak, but they were also practical. The Kaxi chose pacifism over strength. Every species must face the consequences of its choices. The galaxy cannot save everyone who makes poor decisions. This caused an immediate response from the Peaceful Alliance representatives. Ambassador Suthka's tentacles writhed with emotion. The Kaxi committed no crime except trusting in the goodness of others. They offered friendship to the Vorthak and received death in return. How can we claim to be civilized if we allow genocide? Because intervention would cost lives, replied Admiral Korex of the Stellar Defense League. His species had learned the hard way about the costs of war. The Vorthak have 200 warships in that system. They have orbital bombardment platforms and planetary assault troops. Any force sent to help the Kaxi would suffer heavy casualties, possibly for nothing. Ambassador Telvin consulted his notes. Our intelligence indicates that Tidalmar has strategic value to the Vorthak. The planet contains more fresh water than any known world. The Empire needs this water for their expansion plans. Which proves my point, said Kretal. The Vorthak will not give up easily. They have invested too much in this conquest to retreat because of diplomatic pressure. Dr. Mimara of the Scientific Consortium raised one of her 4 arms. Perhaps we could offer the Vorthak something in trade for the Kaxi lives. Water can be found on other worlds. Admiral Korex made a sound like breaking glass, which was his species' equivalent of laughter. The Vorthak do not negotiate from positions of weakness. They see any attempt at bargaining as proof that they should demand more, not less. The debate continued for hours. Some species wanted to send humanitarian aid after the fighting ended. Others suggested economic sanctions against the Vorthak Empire. A few proposed military intervention, but they were quickly outvoted by those who wanted to avoid war. While the council argued, something strange was happening in the Tidalmar system. Admiral Kextar stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the final bombardment of the last Kaxi city. His crew worked efficiently at their stations, coordinating the destruction with military precision. The aquatic creatures had stopped sending distress signals 2 days ago. Soon the planet would be ready for the water extraction ships. Admiral, called his sensor officer, I am detecting unusual readings on the edge of the system. Admiral Kextar did not look away from the main screen showing explosions in the ocean below. Define unusual. Gravitational anomalies consistent with faster-than-light travel, but the signatures are unlike anything in our databases. The readings appeared approximately 6 hours ago and have been growing stronger. Now Admiral Kextar turned to face his officer. The Vorthak had detailed records of every known form of space travel used by galactic civilizations. Unknown technology suggested unknown enemies. Show me the data. The sensor officer transferred his readings to the main screen. The gravitational patterns looked like ripples in space itself, but they followed mathematical sequences that no known species used. The signatures are moving in formation, Admiral. This appears to be a fleet of some kind. How many ships? Difficult to determine with the interference, but I estimate between 20 and 30 vessels. Admiral Kextar considered this information. No species in the galaxy would risk a fleet that size against the Vorthak Empire just to save the Kaxi. The aquatic creatures had no allies with that kind of military power. Continue monitoring. Alert all ships to possible hostile contact. Deep beneath Tidalmar's ocean, Elder Tsunami felt the vibrations of another explosion above her. The Kaxi survivors had gathered in the deepest trenches, where the crushing pressure of the deep water might protect them from the worst of the bombardment. But even here, the shockwaves from the surface reached them. Elder, whispered Ripple, swimming close to her side. The sensors are detecting something in the outer system. Elder Tsunami's tentacles moved weakly through the water. She was old and tired, and the constant fear was wearing down her strength. More Vorthak ships? No, Elder. The sensor patterns are different. These are not Vorthak vessels. For the first time in days, Elder Tsunami felt a small spark of hope. Could someone have answered our call for help? Ripple checked his instruments again. The ships are using technology we do not recognize. They appeared suddenly as if they materialized from nothing. They are maintaining distance from both us and the Vorthak fleet. Elder Tsunami closed her large eyes and tried to think. Every spacefaring species in the galaxy used different forms of faster-than-light travel, but they all followed the same basic principles. Ships that could appear from nowhere without the usual energy signatures were beyond anything she knew about. Are they moving toward the planet? No, Elder. They seem to be studying the situation. Our deep sensors show them scanning both the Vorthak ships and our world. Elder Tsunami wondered who these mysterious visitors might be. Perhaps they were scavengers hoping to profit from the Vorthak conquest. Perhaps they were explorers who had stumbled across the battle by accident. Or perhaps she dared to hope they were the answer to her desperate prayers. Continue monitoring, she told Ripple, and prepare another message beacon just in case. The unknown fleet held position at the edge of the system for 3 days. Admiral Kexter grew increasingly nervous as his sensors failed to identify the mysterious ships. His requests for identification received no response. The strangers seemed content to watch and wait. Admiral, reported his communication officer on the 3rd day, we are receiving a transmission from the unknown fleet. Admiral Kextar straightened in his command chair. Finally, these mysterious watchers would reveal themselves. Put it through. The main screen activated, showing the bridge of an alien ship. The being who appeared was unlike anything in Vorthak databases. It stood upright on two legs like many species, but its skin was smooth and pale, with only thin hair on the top of its head. Its eyes were small but bright with intelligence. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth Space Force," the being said in perfect Vorthak language. "You are committing genocide against a peaceful species. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." Admiral Kextar stared at the screen. Earth? He had never heard of this planet or this species. The translator identified the alien's language as something called English, which was not in any known databases. "I am Admiral Kextar of the Vorthak Empire. You are interfering in an Imperial operation. Identify your species and your authority." "We are human beings from the planet Earth," Captain Chen replied. "Our authority is simple. We do not allow genocide when we have the power to stop it." Admiral Kextar made the sound his people used for contempt. "You have 30 ships against my 200. You have no power here." Captain Chen smiled, an expression that showed her small white teeth. Admiral Kextar found the expression disturbing for reasons he could not identify. "Admiral, you have never fought Deathworlders before. You are about to learn why that matters." The transmission ended. Admiral Kextar stared at the empty screen, wondering what the human meant by Deathworlders. He had never heard the term before, but something about the way she said it made his scales itch with unease. "All ships," he commanded. "Battle stations. Prepare to engage unknown hostiles." In the depths of Tidalmar's ocean, Elder Tsunami received a different message on the Kaxi emergency frequencies. It was brief and in broken Kaxi, as if translated by a computer. "Elder Tsunami, this is Captain Chen of Earth. We heard your call for help. Hold on. We are coming." Elder Tsunami's tentacles trembled as she realized that someone had actually answered their desperate plea. She did not know who these humans were or where Earth was located, but for the first time since the Vorthak arrived, she believed her people might survive. The unknown variable had finally revealed itself, and the galaxy was about to discover what happened when Deathworlders decided to fight. The human fleet appeared without warning in the space between the Vorthak Armada and Tidalmar. One moment the area was empty, and the next moment 30 ships materialized as if stepping out of invisible doorways. Their arrival sent gravitational shockwaves through the entire system. Admiral Kextar watched his sensors struggle to process what they were seeing. The human ships were unlike anything in Vorthak records. They were sleek and dark, with smooth curves that seemed to bend light around them. No visible weapons ports, no obvious weak points, no familiar technology markers that would identify their capabilities. "Analysis," he demanded. His tactical officer worked frantically at his console. "Admiral, the ships are approximately 800 meters long each. Hull composition is unknown. Power signatures are unusual. They appear to be generating energy levels that should be impossible for vessels of that size." "Weapons? Unknown, sir. I cannot detect any conventional weapon systems." Admiral Kextar felt a chill run through his scales. In 30 years of military service, he had never encountered a ship he could not analyze within minutes. These human vessels were technological mysteries. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Endeavour, studying the Vorthak fleet spread across the space above Tidalmar. She had spent the last 3 days learning everything Earth's databases contained about the Vorthak Empire. They were a typical conquering species, strong, aggressive, and used to fighting enemies who used similar technology and tactics. They had never fought humans. "Tactical assessment," she ordered. Commander Marcus Rodriguez, her tactical officer, highlighted enemy ships on the main display. 200 Vorthak vessels, Admiral. Mix of battleships, cruisers, and support craft. Standard energy shields, plasma weapons, and kinetic projectiles. Their formation is designed for orbital bombardment, not fleet combat. Weaknesses? They are thinking in 2 dimensions, Captain. Their formation assumes enemies will approach from the plane of the solar system. They have minimal coverage above and below their position. Captain Chen nodded. Humanity had learned 3-dimensional combat the hard way, fighting in the asteroid belts and around the gas giants of their own solar system. Communication from the Vorthak flagship. The main screen activated, showing Admiral Kextar on his bridge. The alien was larger than a human, with thick scales and small yellow eyes. His mouth was filled with sharp teeth that he displayed when speaking, probably an intimidation behavior. "Human vessel, Admiral Kextar said. "You are outnumbered 6-1. Withdraw now and the Empire will not pursue you." Captain Chen stepped forward so the Vorthak could see her clearly. She was small compared to the alien admiral, but she stood straight and spoke with calm confidence. "Admiral Kextar, this is your final warning. Cease your attack on the Kaxi immediately, and withdraw your forces from this system." Admiral Kextar's teeth clicked together in what his species considered laughter. "You are either brave or foolish, human. Which is it?" "I am practical," Captain Chen replied. "You have two choices. Leave now and live, or stay and discover why we call our world a death world." Death world? Admiral Kextar had never heard the term applied to an inhabited planet. Most species only lived on worlds with comfortable temperatures, breathable atmospheres, and gentle weather. "Your planet is hostile to life?" Captain Chen's expression did not change. "Admiral, our world has weather systems that could destroy your largest cities. Our oceans have pressure that would crush your ships. Our atmosphere is poisonous to most galactic species. Our gravity would cripple beings adapted to lighter worlds. We have volcanoes that could sterilize continents and ice ages that last thousands of years." She paused to let this information sink in. "We evolved in conditions that most of your species would consider hell. That evolution shaped everything about us, our bodies, our technology, our way of thinking. You have never fought anyone like us." Admiral Kextar felt uncertainty creep into his mind. The human spoke with such certainty, as if the outcome of the coming battle was already decided. But she commanded only 30 ships against his 200. Mathematics was mathematics. "Enough talk," he declared. "If you will not leave, then you will die with the aquatic creatures you came to protect." The communication ended. Admiral Kextar turned to his weapons officer. "All ships open fire on the human vessels. Destroy them quickly." The Vorthak fleet unleashed a massive barrage of plasma bolts and kinetic projectiles. Hundreds of weapons fired simultaneously, creating a wall of destruction that raced toward the human ships at incredible speed. Captain Chen watched the incoming fire on her tactical display. All ships, evasive maneuvers, pattern Delta 7. The human fleet scattered like leaves in a storm. But instead of fleeing in panic, they moved with precise coordination. Ships that had been flying in formation suddenly accelerated in different directions, some diving below the plane of battle, others climbing above it, all of them moving at speeds that seemed impossible. The Vorthak weapons fire, aimed at where the human ships had been, struck empty space. "Impossible," breathed Admiral Kextar. "No ship can accelerate that quickly without crushing its crew." His tactical officer checked his readings twice before reporting. "Admiral, the human vessels are pulling acceleration forces that should kill any known form of life. Their crews should be unconscious or dead." What the Vorthak did not understand was that humans had evolved under Earth's heavy gravity. While most galactic species lived on worlds where they weighed half as much as they would on Earth, humans were built for high-gravity conditions. The acceleration forces that would kill a Vorthak, or incapacitate a Kaxi, were merely uncomfortable for human crews. "Return fire," Captain Chen ordered. The human weapons were as mysterious as their ships. Instead of visible energy beams or projectiles, they fired focused gravitational pulses that twisted space itself. The attacks passed through Vorthak shields as if they did not exist and struck the enemy hulls directly. What happened next shocked both the Vorthak and the Kaxi watching from below. First human salvo crippled 12 Vorthak ships instantly. The gravitational weapons did not just damage the enemy vessels, they tore them apart at the molecular level, breaking the bonds that held their hulls together. "Shields are ineffective," reported the Vorthak tactical officer. "Their weapons are passing through our defenses." Admiral Kextar watched in horror as more of his ships were destroyed by weapons he did not understand. "All ships close to minimum range. Their unusual weapons may be less effective at short distance." It was exactly the wrong decision. Commander Rodriguez smiled as he watched the Vorthak fleet change formation. "They are moving into close combat range, Captain." "Just as you predicted. Humans excel at close combat," Captain Chen observed. "Begin boarding operations." What happened next became legend throughout the galaxy. Human assault pods, small and fast and nearly invisible, launched from the fleet and attached to Vorthak ships like parasites. The pods burned through enemy hulls using focused plasma cutters, creating entry points for human boarding parties. The first Vorthak to encounter human soldiers In close combat, learned why Earth was classified as a death world. Human infantry moved through ship, corridors in gravity that would have left most species crawling on the deck. They breathed the thin, cold air of damaged ships without life support. When Vorthak soldiers shot them, humans kept fighting with wounds that should have been instantly fatal. Most terrifying of all, the humans seemed to feel no fear. They advanced steadily through enemy ships, their weapons precise and deadly, their tactics adapted to the cramped confines of spacecraft combat. Within 1 hour, 15 Vorthak ships had been captured by boarding parties. Within 2 hours, Admiral Kaxi received surrender offers from 30 of his captains, who preferred capture to the alternative. "Admiral," his communication officer reported with terror in his voice, "we are receiving a message from Captain Veltar aboard the heavy cruiser Dominator. Put him through." Captain Veltar appeared on screen, but he was barely recognizable. His scales were pale with shock and fear. Behind him, human soldiers could be seen securing his bridge. "Admiral," Veltar whispered, "do not let them board your ship. These creatures, they are not natural. They move in gravity that crushes us. They breathe poison and call it air. They heal from wounds that would kill us. They are demons from the darkest pits of space." The transmission ended abruptly. Admiral Kaxi looked around his bridge and saw the same fear in every face. His mighty fleet was being destroyed by 30 ships crewed by beings from a world so hostile that it had forged them into living weapons. "Open a channel to the human flagship," he ordered quietly. Captain Chen appeared on his screen, looking calm and professional, despite having just won an impossible victory. "Yes, Admiral. We surrender," Admiral Kaxi said, the words bitter in his mouth. "The Vorthak Empire yields this system to Earth." "The system belongs to the Kaxi," Captain Chen corrected him gently. "We are just ensuring they can keep it." Deep in the oceans of Tidalmar, Elder Tsunami felt the vibrations of battle fade away. Her sensors showed Vorthak ships fleeing the system or surrendering to the mysterious humans. The bombardment of her world had stopped. "Elder," Ripple said with wonder in his voice, "the humans have won. They defeated an entire Vorthak fleet with only 30 ships." Elder Tsunami Kiel, the battle was over, but its effects rippled through both fleets in ways that would change galactic history. Aboard the captured Vorthak heavy cruiser Dominator, Captain Lisa Park led her boarding team through corridors filled with the groans of damaged metal. The artificial gravity had failed in several sections, leaving debris floating in the air. But the human soldiers moved through the chaotic environment as if it were a routine training exercise. "Structural integrity holding at 60%, reported Sergeant James Mitchell, checking his handheld scanner. "The hull can take atmospheric pressure, but barely." Captain Park nodded and activated her communicator. "Engineering team, we need emergency life support in sections 7 through 12. We have Vorthak survivors who need medical attention." What happened next would be talked about in alien military academies for generations. The human engineering team arrived wearing standard EVA suits that allowed them to work in the vacuum of damaged ship sections. They moved through areas of twisted metal and radiation leaks that should have required specialized equipment and hours of preparation. Instead, they worked quickly and efficiently, restoring life support systems with tools that seemed designed for much harsher conditions. Captain Veltar, the Vorthak commander, watched from his detention area as humans repaired his ship better than his own engineers could have managed. The aliens worked in environmental conditions that would have killed most of his crew within minutes. "How?" he asked Captain Park when she came to check on the prisoners.
"How do your people survive in such conditions?"
Captain Park removed her helmet, breathing the thin air of the damaged ship without difficulty. "This is comfortable compared to some places on Earth. Our mining crews work in conditions that would make this seem like a luxury resort." She gestured to the repairs happening around them. "My home city sits next to an active volcano. Every few years we get earthquakes that knock down buildings and poison gas that drifts in from the lava flows. My grandmother used to tell stories about the old days when winter storms would drop the temperature 40 degrees below freezing and cover everything in ice for months." Captain Veltar's scales went pale. Such conditions would have wiped out Vorthak civilization within a single generation. "Your world tried to kill you and you survived." "More than survived," Captain Park corrected. "We thrived. Every challenge made us stronger, more adaptable, more creative in solving problems. When your people developed space travel, You were escaping a comfortable world to find more comfortable worlds. When we developed space travel, we were already used to living in hostile environments. The conversation was interrupted by alarms from other parts of the ship. Captain Park's communicator crackled to life. "Captain, this is medical. We have a problem in the Vorthak medical bay. Their wounded are reacting badly to standard galactic medical procedures." Captain Park hurried to the medical section, where she found Dr. Elizabeth Hayes working over an injured Vorthak soldier. The alien's breathing was labored and his scales had turned an unhealthy color. "What is the situation, Doctor?" Dr. Hayes looked up from her patient with frustration on her face. "Their biology is more fragile than anything in our medical databases. This soldier has injuries that would be minor for a human, but they are life-threatening for his species. Standard painkillers are toxic to him. Antibiotics that would cure a human infection are causing allergic reactions." She gestured to other Vorthak casualties. "Captain, their entire evolutionary history was spent on worlds with stable climates and gentle conditions. They never developed the biological resilience that humans take for granted. A human child could survive injuries that would kill an adult Vorthak." Captain Park studied the wounded aliens with new understanding. "Doctor, what would happen if a Vorthak visited Earth?" "The gravity alone would cripple them within hours. The atmospheric pressure would cause internal bleeding. The oxygen levels would poison their blood. The background radiation would give them cancer within days." Dr. Hayes shook her head in amazement. "Captain, I do not think any known galactic species could survive on Earth for more than a few hours without extensive life support." This revelation was spreading through the human fleet as medical teams treated captured Vorthak soldiers and engineers examined enemy technology. What they discovered explained why 30 human ships had defeated 200 Vorthak vessels so easily. Commander Rodriguez compiled the tactical analysis for Captain Chen. They met in her ready room, aboard the UES Endeavour, while the fleet secured the Tidalmar system. "Captain, we have completed our assessment of Vorthak capabilities. The results are illuminating." Rodriguez activated a holographic display showing Vorthak ship designs. "Their technology is actually quite advanced in many ways. Their faster-than-light drives are more efficient than ours. Their energy generation systems are cleaner and more powerful. Their computer systems are centuries ahead of anything we have." Captain Chen studied the data. But everything is designed for comfortable operation by crews who evolved on gentle worlds. Their artificial gravity systems cannot exceed 0.8 Earth standard, because higher gravity would injure their personnel. Their hull designs prioritize fuel efficiency over structural strength, because they never expected to fight enemies who could damage them significantly. Rodriguez highlighted the weapon systems. Most importantly, their weapons and defenses are designed to fight other galactic species. Energy shields that stop plasma bolts and particle beams, armor that resists kinetic impacts and thermal damage. Tactics based on long-range engagements between evenly matched opponents. They were not prepared for gravitational weapons that ignore conventional defenses, Captain Chen observed. More than that, Captain, they were not prepared for enemies who could fight effectively in high radiation, low-pressure, variable gravity environments. When we boarded their ships, we were operating in conditions that their evolution never prepared them for. Rodriguez brought up casualty reports. Human boarding teams suffered 12% casualties, mostly minor injuries. Vorthak resistance collapsed almost immediately because their soldiers could not fight effectively in the environmental conditions created by ship damage. Captain Chen leaned back in her chair, processing the implications. "Commander, are you telling me that humans have an inherent advantage over all known galactic species?" "Yes, Captain. Earth is classified as a Class 12 death world in our xenobiology databases. The only other planets with similar ratings are gas giants, molten worlds, and frozen wastelands that no one tries to colonize. Humans are the only known intelligent species that evolved in such extreme conditions." The conversation was interrupted by a communication from the planet below. Elder Tsunami's voice came through the translator, filled with gratitude and wonder. "Captain Chen, this is Elder Tsunami of the Kaxi. We wish to thank you for saving our people from extinction. We do not understand how 30 of your ships defeated 200 Vorthak vessels, but we are grateful beyond words." Captain Chen activated the communication system. "Elder Tsunami, we were honored to help. Your people should not have been forced to face such danger alone. Captain, may we ask about your world? The Vorthak prisoners we have rescued speak of Earth as if it were a realm of demons and monsters." Captain Chen smiled at the description. Earth is our home, Elder Tsunami. It is a beautiful world, but it is also a challenging one. Our planet has shaped us into what we are through millions of years of adaptation to difficult conditions. Would it be possible for some of my people to visit Earth? We would very much like to understand the world that produced such brave defenders. The request caught Captain Chen off guard. No alien species had ever visited Earth. Humanity had been preparing for first contact for decades, but they had always assumed it would happen in neutral space or on alien worlds. Elder Tsunami, I will need to consult with my government before any such visit could be arranged, but I believe they would be honored to receive Kaxi diplomats. The communication ended, leaving Captain Chen to contemplate the larger implications of the day's events. Humanity had intended to observe galactic civilization quietly for years before making official contact. Instead, they had announced their presence by defeating one of the galaxy's major military powers in a battle that would be studied and discussed for generations. Commander Rodriguez voiced what they were both thinking. Captain, everything has changed. The galaxy now knows that humans exist, and they know we are unlike any species they have encountered before. Yes, Captain Chen agreed. The question is whether they will see us as protectors or as the next great threat to galactic peace. She looked out at the stars surrounding Tidalmar, knowing that news of this battle was already spreading through the galaxy at the speed of light. Some species would fear the Deathworlders who had emerged from the darkness between stars. Others would see opportunity in an alliance with beings who could defeat the Vorthak Empire. But all of them would know that the galaxy had changed forever. On Earth, Admiral Patricia Hayes received the first reports of the Battle of Tidalmar, with a mixture of pride and apprehension. Humanity had saved an innocent spee. The emergency session of the Galactic Council reconvened 3 days after the Battle of Tidalmar. This time, the Great Chamber buzzed with nervous energy instead of diplomatic formality. Reports had poured in from across the galaxy about the mysterious humans who had appeared from nowhere and defeated an entire Vorthak fleet. Ambassador Telvin called for order, but his usual calm demeanor showed cracks of uncertainty. Fellow representatives, we gather to discuss new developments in the Tidalmar situation. It appears that an unknown species has intervened in the conflict. Unknown species? Interrupted Ambassador Kretal of the warrior clans. Her people prided themselves on knowing every military threat in the galaxy. These humans destroyed 200 Vorthak warships with only 30 vessels. How does an entire spacefaring civilization remain unknown to the Council? Admiral Korex of the Stellar Defense League stood to address the chamber. His species had the best intelligence network in known space, and his report carried weight with all the representatives. We have intercepted Vorthak military communications from the battle. The humans use technology that appears to violate several known laws of physics. Their ships generate gravitational fields as weapons. Their crews operate in environmental conditions that would kill most galactic species within minutes. Ripple of concerned sounds moved through the chamber. Dr. Mimara of the Scientific Consortium raised one of her 4 arms. Admiral, could you elaborate on these environmental conditions? Admiral Korex consulted his datapad. According to Vorthak survivors, human soldiers fought effectively in ship sections with artificial gravity, exceeding standard galactic limits. In atmospheres with oxygen concentrations that are toxic to most known species, and in radiation fields that would cause immediate cellular damage to Vorthak personnel. Ambassador Suthka of the Peaceful Alliance spoke in trembling tones. Are we discussing a species of living weapons? Beings so adapted to violence that they thrive in conditions that would kill peaceful civilizations? Perhaps, Admiral Korex replied. Or perhaps we are discussing a species that evolved in conditions so harsh that what we consider extreme environments are merely normal for them. The debate was interrupted by an announcement that sent shockwaves through the chamber. Attention, Council representatives. We have received a direct communication from Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth Space Force. Ambassador Telvin's tentacles writhed with anxiety. Put the transmission through. The main display activated, showing Captain Chen on the bridge of her ship. Behind her, human crew members worked at stations that looked both familiar and alien. The technology was recognizable as spacecraft systems, but the designs were unlike anything the Council had seen. Honorable representatives of the Galactic Council, Captain Chen began, speaking in perfect Council standard language. I am Captain Sarah Chen. representing the United Earth Space Force and by extension all humanity. We understand that our intervention at Tidalmar has raised questions about who we are and what we want. Ambassador Telvan found his voice first. Captain Chen, on behalf of the Galactic Council, we welcome you to official diplomatic contact. May we ask how your species remained unknown to galactic civilization for so long? Captain Chen's expression remained professional but friendly. Ambassador, humanity has been aware of galactic civilization for approximately 50 years. We chose to observe and learn before making contact, wanting to understand the political and social structures of the galaxy before introducing ourselves. And why did you choose to reveal yourselves now? Asked Ambassador Kretal. Because the Kaxi were dying, Captain Chen replied simply. We monitored their distress signal and realized that no one else would help them. Humanity could not stand by and watch genocide occur when we had the power to prevent it. Dr. Miyamura leaned forward in her specialized atmosphere suit. Captain, our preliminary analysis suggests that your species possesses unusual physical capabilities. Could you help us understand your evolutionary background? Captain Chen nodded. Doctor, humanity evolved on a world that most galactic species would classify as uninhabitable. Earth has high gravity, a corrosive oxygen atmosphere, extreme weather patterns, and geological instability. These conditions shaped our evolution in ways that make us different from other intelligent species. How different? Admiral Corax asked directly. Admiral, the average human can survive in gravitational fields that would cripple most galactic species. We breathe an atmospheric mixture that is poisonous to many civilizations. Our planet's background radiation levels would cause cancer in visitors from gentler worlds. We evolved immune systems that can fight off diseases that would devastate other species. Captain Chen paused to let this information sink in. We call Earth a death world not because we hate our planet, but because it taught us to be strong. Every challenge made us more adaptable. Every disaster made us more resourceful. Every threat made us better at surviving. Ambassador Suthka spoke in a voice filled with worry. Captain, are we to understand that your entire species is adapted for warfare and violence? No, Ambassador, Captain Chen corrected gently. We are adapted for survival in extreme conditions. This makes us effective in combat when necessary, but it also makes us effective at exploration, research, engineering, and many other peaceful pursuits. The same traits that help us fight also help us build, discover, and create. The chamber fell silent as the representatives processed this information. Finally, Ambassador Telvan asked the question that everyone was thinking. Captain Chen, what does humanity want from the galaxy? Captain Chen smiled, an expression that somehow managed to be both reassuring and mysterious. Ambassador, we want what most civilized species want. We want to trade with peaceful neighbors. We want to learn about other cultures and share our own knowledge. We want to explore new worlds and make new discoveries. We want to help those who need help and build friendships with those who value friendship. And if you encounter hostility, Ambassador Kretal asked. Then we will defend ourselves and our allies, Captain Chen replied without hesitation. The Vorthak Empire learned that we do not make idle threats. Any species that chooses violence over diplomacy will discover why evolution chose to make us strong. Admiral Corax stood to address both Captain Chen and the Council. Captain speaking for the Stellar Defense League. We would be honored to discuss mutual defense agreements with Earth. Your intervention at Tidalmar has shown that humanity shares our values regarding the protection of innocent species. We would welcome such discussions. Admiral, Dr. Mimara raised her arm again. Captain, would Earth be willing to share scientific knowledge with the galactic community? Your gravitational weapons technology could revolutionize many fields of study. Doctor, we believe that knowledge shared benefits everyone. However, we would need to establish trust and mutual understanding before sharing technologies that could be used for destructive purposes. The diplomatic exchanges continued for another hour, with various representatives asking questions about human culture, technology, and intentions. Captain Chen answered each query with patience and honesty, gradually building a picture of humanity that both fascinated and intimidated the galactic powers. As the session concluded, Ambassador Telvan made a formal statement. Captain Chen, on behalf of the Galactic Council, we extend an invitation for Earth to establish formal diplomatic relations with the galactic community. We propose a cultural exchange program that would allow us to learn more about each other in a peaceful setting. We accept your invitation, Ambassador. Earth looks forward to building relationships with all peaceful species in the galaxy. The transmission ended, leaving the council chamber in animated discussion about the implications of humanity's emergence onto the galactic stage. Meanwhile, in the depths of Tidalmar's oceans, Elder Tsunami swam through the ruins of Coral Hain with a small group of survivors. The Vorthak bombardment had destroyed most of their cities, but the Kaxi were still alive. That was more than she had dared hope for during those dark days when death seemed certain. Young Ripple swam beside her, his bioluminescent patches glowing with excitement. Elder, the humans have established a communication link with the Galactic Council. They are being welcomed as a new member species. Elder Tsunami paused at the ruins of what had once been a beautiful sculpture garden. The artwork was gone, but new coral was already beginning to grow among the debris. Life, she reflected, was remarkably persistent when given the chance. What do we know about these humans, Ripple? They come from a world of fire and storms, Elder. Their planet would kill most species within hours, but it made them strong enough to save us from the Vorthak Empire. Elder Tsunami considered this information. The galaxy was full of species that had evolved on comfortable worlds, living easy lives that bred weakness and complacency. Perhaps it took beings from a harsh world to have the strength and courage to stand against injustice. Send a message to Captain Chen, she instructed. Tell her that the Kaxi people will remember their kindness for all generations. Tell her that the songs of Earth will be sung in our deepest waters, and that humans will always find friends among the Kaxi. I